Welcome to the Recruiter Startup Podcast. You've made the big time now, James.
Yeah, I don't know about that. We're getting there. Yeah.
I'm joined by James Campbell from Mason Alexander, from his penthouse apartment in Manhattan, smoking cigars, having a glass of
Yeah.
wine, doing deals, living the dream.
I know about the cigars now. I'd probably get thrown out of my apartment, but aside from that, the dream has found me in certain ways for sure. Yeah.
Okay. So I suppose just to anybody who's listening, a bit of an insight. Uh, James has how long have you been in recruitment now for?
Just coming up to 5 years now.
5 years. What age are you?
I'm 27, turning 28 in a couple of months.
Coming into your prime years, eh?
Yeah. If I was a footballer, I'd be, going for the Ballon d'Or next year. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the right time. Okay.
Yeah.
So currently in New York. First time I spoke to you, you were a measly little office support recruiter, recruiting PAs and PAs for warehouses on the outskirts of Dublin.
Yeah. A bit more professional at some stages, but there were a couple of warehouses for sure. Yeah, a couple of meetings out in the swords. Yeah.
Talk to me about that journey from what you're currently doing now. Like what are you doing now?
So for Mason Alexander, I'm the head of the technology practice for the East Coast.
The East Coast,
Yeah, New York.
based in New York. All
hmm
right. That's a long way from putting admins and the businesses on the outskirts of Dublin. What led you to getting into recruitment?
It's fairly much the stereotypical recruitment story, to be honest. I think everyone kind of falls into it. No one goes to college to become one, at least not where I'm from anyway. But it was honestly, it's funny. So like basically, I was doing my master's. There was a lad that I knew that was doing recruitment, and he was doing pretty well at it. And I was like, I'm definitely like, I can definitely do that. Like if he can do it, I can definitely do it. So that was kind of the thought process. I applied for Hayes in Dublin when I was in Chicago after my master's degree, and eventually didn't hear back from them for months. Honestly, I moved back to Dublin. I had some cash from working for the summer. I didn't have a job for a couple of months. I was kind of starting to freak out, and then got a phone call from Hayes and was hired a week later.
Did you do one of those crazy Hayes assessment centers?
Yeah, yeah. There's eight of us in a boardroom.
Did you have to tell them how much you wanted to work in Hayes and why Hayes are the greatest company in the world?
Not that would I wouldn't put that in quotes, but there was some similar concepts to that. But no, that was actually it was very interesting. I think like it was obviously with those big organizations, they kind of approach things in a certain way when they bring staff in. But it was interesting to say the least. Like, there
Yeah,
was eight of us in a room. We're all
it's
competing with each
Scientology.
other. Yeah. Well, I know Hayes is like your arch enemy, so.
No, they're not. They're the best. They're my favorite. They breed wonderful people like you. No, I love a good PLC. Um, so, um, you're in Hayes.
Mhm.
Walk me through what that was like. What did you think the future held for you at that stage?
Don't know, probably honestly, like I just got needed a job and I got that job and then I got in. It was very strange. Like my first day I walked in, I'm all like anxious and stuff. It's a big sales floor, obviously 100 people on the floor. I walk in, I don't know my arse from my elbow to be honest. And then I walk in and straight away it's like, okay, James, we have a meeting. And I was like, what? And they brought me to a client meeting at 8:30 that morning. And I was like, I just kind of sat there and I was like, oh, this is like death by fire, which is actually a great way to start, to be honest. Got in. And yeah, worked in Hayes. I honestly had a great time there. Like if it wasn't for the fact that I was moving to New York, I could have easily worked there for a long time. I had a great like support system there. Loved my managers; they were all great. Loved my directors; got on very well with them. They kind of took me from being like they made me an adult to an extent. Like I'm just out of college. I don't know what's going on. Don't know how to be professional. They made me wear my tie properly, made sure I shaved, like just stuff you would. Like, I just came out of college at DCO. I was studying communications. Not like I was doing economics or something.
Yeah.
And then getting out of there, like they really kind of raised me into a professional. But yeah, I know it was a good journey. Did pretty well there. Had a good time and just learned a lot, to be honest. And it was the first few times. Yeah, it just I learned a lot around it, to be honest. And like,
Yeah.
but a lot of it, aside from just the recruitment stuff, a lot of it, like I'd say half it was learning how to actually work in the business world, which is incredibly valuable.
Yeah, good stuff. Good place to start your career for
hmm
sure. Um, your folks are American, are they? Or your mom or dad, or
No, they're both Irish.
they're both
They
Irish?
moved. They moved to America and they had me and my sister.
how did they get their visas and stuff for America back in the day?
I think it was a lot more straightforward 20, 30 years ago. It was just like the green card lottery, but it was a lot more consistent, especially for the
Yeah.
Irish. Over here, they didn't have much issue, I don't think, in the end.
And were you born in America or were you born?
I was born in New York. I lived here for like 10 years before I moved home.
Ah, right. So you would have done the.
Hmm.
Do you see yourself as American or Irish?
I would say Irish because like I think my formative years were in Ireland. Like I lived there from 11 or so till 24. So like
Yeah.
a lot of my like personality was developed in Ireland. But yeah, probably a bit of a mutt if anything, really.
Yeah. It's funny.
Yeah.
With both parents Irish as well.
Hmm.
Like I wonder with my boys. I mean, they lived the first 5 years in
Hmm.
England. Now we're here in Gibraltar. Charlotte's kind of half Irish. I'm full Irish. So
Yeah.
they always wonder what identity people hold on to
Hmm.
as they get older. So you I suppose you've got the best of both worlds. You can be
Yeah.
you're a bit of a chameleon to the American,
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
Anyone they want me to be. No, I think like obviously to some perspective too, like being Irish does actually help over here as well, just from like not just business perspective, from a personal perspective, it's a bit more interesting than like
Yeah.
just being like another American lad in New York. But yeah, no, I think I just identify as Irish. I think my mannerisms, my humor, the way I approach situations is very Irish. But then again, it's funny like when I deal with people that are just purely like even back home or like even some of the lads I work with now, they're pure Irish outfit. You can see there is some American in me still in terms of like Americans are typically a bit more like not cocky, but a bit more confident, a bit more direct, and like kind of a bit more. I want to say egotistical. That's a bad word, but like it's just a different kind of culture. Like I definitely have a piece of that. And I remember my first manager in Hayes. I did the self assessment, and
Yeah.
like I scored myself higher than everyone else scored themselves. So she can tell you have that American because that's like a common trait. So it's
Yeah.
interesting. Like there is
Yeah.
definitely some underlying stuff there.
Yeah. Um, you're quite thoughtful, aren't you? Like you like to think about like
Yeah.
future and like
Hmm.
yourself and being
Hmm.
an analytical and all the rest. I remember
Hmm.
when I had you as a candidate, you were listening because I was saying to you, look,
Hmm.
if you get into financial technology now,
Hmm.
away from this will make sense. And you ended up
Yeah.
going with that because you had an American
Hmm.
passport and you were
Hmm.
cheap. Like
Yeah. That's sweet. That's yeah. Yeah.
everybody wants it, you know.
Hmm. Yeah.
So you ended up working for one of the legends of our industry.
Yeah.
He's been on
Mr.
podcasts
Bab.
recently, Mr.
Yeah.
Bab. What was
Hmm.
that like?
It was like I love those lads. I met with them a couple months ago. I see them whenever they're in town. I keep in touch with them. It was just they like they were basically both my fathers. Like as I came over, I was a young lad. I didn't have much connections over here. I was like, and honestly, the first couple months, a few months, I was very homesick. And I remember Rob Grant, who's a COO now, but he was the general manager of
Yeah,
North America when I first came in. Like the first few months, I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Like I went from Hayes, where like everyone's going out and piss all the time, and everyone's best friends, to like there's everyone here is sturdy, and like I'm in a different country. And Rob honestly told me later on, he's like, I thought we were going to lose you. Like I honestly didn't think it was going to work. But then in fairness to Rob, like he started like we both supported Liverpool. He started like taking off half days for me to go watch the matches in the pub and get to know me. Like that really made me feel comfortable. But yeah, I loved it there, man. Like I really did. Like it was learning all that, like just learning that industry, right? So like I grew up obviously in Mayo. Like my the main industry in my town is the window joinery up the road, where a lot of my friends, honestly, where a lot of my friends ended up going if they didn't go to college. And like so, I financial technology, markets, hedge funds. This was all like this world of might as well have been Mandarin to me. Like it made no sense. It was just like this like a mecca that like
yeah.
no one really got into from where I was from. So like to work
So
in to
I
go
got exactly the same experience. I was older than you,
yeah
but when I was in
yeah
Australia, it was technology into the mining industry.
yeah
So it's like every day I'm
yeah
getting a new piece of that puzzle. Like, oh, this company does this, and then this one feeds this to get to this,
yeah.
and these people go here, but these people go here, and these personalities aren't. So you this this it's a complex thing to learn
It
something like
really
that.
is. No, it really is, and I think that's one of the benefits. Like I know we slag off support, and I understand why it's like I get it, but at the same time, learning when you work in office support for the first year and a half, and that's why I was put there because like it was you learn how to match people to places, right? And
Yeah,
it takes away some of the more technical skill sets. Like there is still obviously
sure.
technical skill sets,
It's very
but it's like
personality driven, isn't it?
it's a personality match exactly, and that's why I thought I'd be good at it because I get on with people. So it was like I became very good at matching personalities to companies, and
Yeah.
then so I had that base understanding of how to do that So I didn't have to learn that anymore as much. So I could learn
Yeah.
the technological aspect. And I think that's where, like, when I see more junior people coming in or starting their careers, I see them mostly like in Michael Page or even other firms. Like, if they're coming from, like, if they're learning recruitment and they're learning this really technical stuff, it's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, so you're learning so many things at once. Like I struggled myself. Like, I remember when I first came here, I was like all these like fintechs and hedge funds and buy side and sell side and compliance and portfolio management. Da, 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 da. I'm like, what? I have no idea what any of this means.
Yeah.
And like I remember looking at, like, I used to take all my notes down, look at a spreadsheet, but look at the definition. I always took down definitions of words I didn't know, and I review them at the end of every week. And every week there's just more and more, and I'm like, my brain's about to explode. And I think, like, if I had to try and learn that while also learning how to recruit people, it like would have been an absolute
It's tough.
disaster.
I've done it.
Yeah,
It was
it is.
it was tough, and you need a really good management structure around you,
Yeah.
and you
Hmm.
need a learning process. And
Yeah.
most people don't make it,
Hmm.
and people think, oh, you're like recruiters; they make lots of money if they survive,
Yeah.
if they
No.
go through the fire.
Hmm.
And
Absolutely. Yeah.
because most of them don't. Like, if you're in any big room, you're
Hmm.
going to see a full series of turnover within 24 months.
Yeah.
Mostly anyone that's run properly, because
Yeah.
it's so hard.
Yeah.
Lifestyle businesses
Hmm.
different. People can hang in longer, and
Hmm.
expectations aren't as high. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's it's an interesting journey. Um, so you got to a point where you needed a bit more human interaction and went to Michael Page. Is that right?
Yeah. To an extent, I think, like, it's interesting. So we obviously went through COVID and Harrington Starr, and that was like, it was just a terrifying time to be human, to be alive. Realistically, like,
Awful.
people, there's people are literally dying, and like, not that I'm laughing. It's like, I just remember, like, you're calling people to do BD because you have to survive yourself, and like,
Yeah.
but like their family members could be in hospital. It was just a very, very weird time, and like, that was kind of, especially for a smaller company, that was kind of terrifying. Like, I got to, and this is nothing, like, they ran the company incredibly well, and they actually pivoted so incredibly in COVID, which is why they've actually exploded since, because like they pivoted to more digital first and inbound, and I thought it was incredible, and they still do it, and it's incredible to this day. But like, going from that, you come out of that year, like, I ended the year very high. I did my two biggest months ever back to back. Like, I was buzzing, but I was just like, I'm burnt. Like, this is like the most terrifying year of my life. Like, we didn't like we downsized to three of us in the office from like nine at the start of the year. It was just, it was me, Ricky, and Matt, the three kind of originals that were left. And I was like, not that I wanted to leave, but I was just like, I was relatively happy. But I got approached from by MP by Michael Page, and honestly, they had an interesting role for me. It wasn't like, oh, you're good at what you do, let's talk. It was like, we have this financial services business that's kind of leveraging technology. We want to actually make it specialist, which, to be fair, that's what they've been doing, and they've been changing their strategy to be more specialist around technology, and they've been investing heavily in that. So I thought that was a very, very interesting, vision of that. And to be fair, like, Michael Page, like, those companies typically pay higher bases and they have good benefits. And after the year I just had with COVID, I was like, maybe I could just do with some stability for a while and like
Yeah.
actually learn learn some more of the business, and like not have every light on me because I'm one of the only people in the company. Like, it was a point, and it was more of a point of like, this is going to be a very stable place to work where I'll still learn a good bit, I'll make good money, and not that I can figure out my next move because I wasn't going there with the plan to leave per se, but like, it was just a good point to go after COVID,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
look, the recruitment, I don't want to say it's like a Ponzi scheme, but it's a large part of it is building other people to make revenue. And
Hmm.
there's nobody better than Walters Page, Hayes, and Half at building people to build people. And they
Yeah.
have certain structures, routines, and ways of doing that once you're in there and you spend a bit of time, it
Hmm.
does make you a better leader. Uh,
Yeah.
did you know that going into it? Or
Yeah, to an extent. I think, like, I was attracted by a lot of things, and then I also was like, I'm getting to a stage in my career where I'm going to have to start managing people. That's just a natural progression because I didn't always I'm good at recruiting and like the sales stuff and the commercial stuff. It's probably what I'm best at. But like, I knew for my career to go where I wanted to go because eventually I do want to be CEO or whatever of a company or whichever. It's
is this
more so
is
it's
this
like,
you is this the American trait again coming out?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah, there it is. But
But
no,
someday I
yeah.
just want to be king of the world. But
Yeah, no, exactly. No, just the free world, hopefully. But no, it's more so, it's just more so like, that's like, when I see my career, my trajectory, and what I want to do, it's like, that was a skill set I didn't have, and I was like, where else better to manage than people have been managing for ages. And honestly, I like, did I learn a lot about recruitment? Probably not, but they knew that coming in. They admitted that, like, you're not going to learn much of recruitment. Like, you're very good at what you do. Like, we can teach you how to manage people though, and how to run a business, and how to look at a P&L, and like that, and how to forecast properly for a public company. And like, those are all incredible skill sets. And like, I was horrible at forecasting when I first came in. Like, oh yeah, stick me down for 100 grand. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no, you can't do
Yeah.
that. You know, like, you need to actually plan this out. So like, I was learning that. And I, honestly, I was a disaster at managing my first couple of people. I didn't like. I was just like, come to me if you need me. I'm doing my own thing. Like, I expect, like, that's not really how it works. So
It's
people are going
look,
to be,
it's real useful stuff to get because
yeah,
like we're starting to move slightly from a lifestyle business to something a little bit more, um,
yeah,
sort of. But
yeah.
because I worked in a PLC and I
Hmm.
was managed so tightly, it's
Hmm.
like okay, no problems. I can train a manager to do it,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
there's skills that stay with you
Yeah.
for forever. Was the social side fun and paid?
It was, it definitely was, like, it did a great social thing, but like, I think I had this impression of, like, when I was in Hayes, I was just out of college, and I was like 23, 24, and all I want to do is go out drinking and have the crack and like drink 3 nights a week, and it was the best
Yeah.
thing ever. I joined Michael Page at a different phase of my life. I was turning 27. You know, I wanted to like get my career better. I wanted to stabilize
Yeah.
my personal life a bit more.
So only drinking Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, well, Tuesday as well, depending on how good the Tuesday was. But no, it was like, it was very good. But I think honestly, like, it was exactly what I expected it would be, which is fantastic. But it was like that. It wasn't. My impression of it wasn't what I would have expected to have been. Like, I thought it was what I wanted, but it really wasn't for where I was at in my life. And to be fair, it's very good crack, but there's also, it's a very professional office as well in a lot of ways too. Like, as in, they don't, like, it's not just like in Hayes and Dublin. I'm sure you can imagine it was like going out all the time. Like, that was the culture. It wasn't as that much of a culture in Michael Page in New York, to be fair. But there still was that too. So overall, it's a very good culture, to be honest. Like, in terms of like the social aspect of it, yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Um, you started doing quite well there. What was what was it about that place that helped you be more successful?
Good question. I mean, the market, first of all, it's whenever anyone looks at my numbers, I just say, listen, the market was inflated as a bull market. I think everyone's numbers are up 30% probably, like, for being honest, maybe more. Like, it's just people were hiring like crazy. The general standard of what people were trying to hire lowered a little bit. Everyone was kind of freaking to get their hands on people, which made good people just go through the roof, because like, you know what you're doing, and there's so much going on, you can just fly. I think that is probably a major aspect, but also I just got better at my job. Like you just continually refine skills, and I think also, like, Michael Page didn't enable me. I always say, like, I was
Not
grateful
everybody
to do it.
continually refines their skills. Most people
Yeah,
actually, in recruitment terms,
yeah,
people get past their sell by date quick. What is it that
yeah.
is it that I want to be president of the free world? Is it that bit that you're always
Yeah, honestly, like, I'm just a very, like, not, I wouldn't say ambitious, but like, maybe I am, but it's more so like, my mentality has always been like, I'm not really happy. This is the American. I'm not really happy unless I'm the best person in the business, right? Like, that's where I look. Like, I remember talking to Toby about this years ago. I was like, I remember, like, when I was joining the company, I asked Rob straight out. I was like, "Who's the top biller in this firm?" He was like, "Ricky." I was like, "I'm gonna beat him next year." Like, that's always been my mentality. And like, whether I do it or not, it doesn't matter. It's like, I just want to attack that. Like, that's how I think. And I actually did beat him, but it was COVID, so I didn't really, it didn't really count. But it was
Shout out
more
to
so,
Ricky.
yeah, yeah. Thanks, Ricky. Like, he's actually doing great for himself now. But great guy. But I think, yeah, like, that's always been my mentality, where it's like, I just want to do really, really well, and like, that gives me massive satisfaction. And I know, I think it's because I know that I can perform at a certain level, and if I'm not performing at the level, I get very annoyed at myself. I'm like, because it has happened, like, but like, especially like, I'm not drinking anymore and like that. But like, when I was younger, and I was going out a lot, da da da. It's like,
Yeah.
you kind of, you don't think you lose run yourself, but you're not performing at maximum capacity, and like, that's where you just get annoyed at myself. Like, you could be doing so much better, and that's why, like, I look at my numbers in Michael Page, and like, that was great generally, but like, if I look back, I should have done $1 million when I was there. Like, I know there are things I could have done better. And I remember talking to my manager about it towards the end of my tenure there, and I still had a good quarter, but some things fell off, and I remember being so annoyed. I'm like, if I was on top of my game, they wouldn't have fell off, or I would have found a solution to it, and it would, like, it just, that stuff annoys me and sticks with me, and I think it's that like, I'm never really happy about where it
Yeah.
is, because I always know it can be better. That kind of drives me a lot.
So you've been in two PLCs and now you're
Hmm.
in Mason Alexander with the chance to shape your own team.
Hmm.
What do you like? How do you foresee building a team in New York? From like what type of model are you looking at? What type of talent? What does that team look like in 18 months' time?
It's a very good question. I think there's a lot of factors that contribute to that, so it's hard to give a firm direction. Generally speaking, the three tiers that we cover from a sector perspective, from a skill set and vertical perspective, is product, data, engineering. That's the three that we're going to be focusing on. Generally speaking, from an industry perspective, it's all technology, but it's disruptive technology, what we like to call it. Companies that are typically within their funding cycles and are building really cool stuff. So like fintech, health tech, data tech, ad tech, anything that's kind of changing the way things are done with technology is a firm that we work with. From a team perspective, generally we're looking at experienced people, to be honest. Not like not 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Obviously that'd be great, but we don't want to be, at least personally for me, I think I share the values with the leadership team. We don't want to be the people pulling people out of college, teach them how to format a CV, teach them how to send an email. Those are all important things, but I think given the size of our shop, we don't really have the resources dedicated towards that. I think there's bigger firms that can do that better, to be honest. I think for us, the sort of people we're hiring are like 2, 3 years, sharp, motivated, and love, and I have a very big interest in their industry. And that's one thing that I think that changed my career for me and kind of accelerated it. I genuinely love financial technology. I love technology. I find it so fascinating. Like I read about it, I trade, you know, every morning I'm reading economics and technology stuff. So I just generally find it very interesting. So like finding people with that passion for the subject matter, it makes your job so much easier. So I think that's kind of the qualification of what we're looking for from a person. And you know yourself too often, like you hire the person. You don't need, like the skill set's important, but like recruitment is a people business. Like working with someone's a people business. Like if I'd rather hire someone I really like that has no experience than someone I don't that does. You know, and I think because like you can train them and work them if they're coachable. I think 18 months down the road, where we are, it depends on what triggers are hit commercially. Realistically, I think we're doing quite well at the moment, which is fantastic. We're garnering a decent bit of interest. It's a lot of work to do, but we're doing well for where we are in our milestone point. I would say like, listen, if all goes well, you could be looking at a team of 10, maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less. That's probably 8 to 10 is probably where I'd like it to be. But that a lot has to happen before that. You know what I mean? It really depends. Yeah.
And look, I could chat to you all day.
Yeah.
Prefer to do it over pints, but you don't seem to be into your pints anymore. Maybe you will be the next time I get over.
Yeah. Maybe it's yeah. No, it's been a yeah. I think you know yourself, like you're especially Irish culture is so focused on drinking. I think that
Hard.
especially then recruitment at Irish is so focused on drinking. So I took a break from a while. It's actually been really great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu kind of saved me with it. So
Hmm.
like that means that most days during the week I'm doing something and then might have the odd blowout, but
Yeah.
young kids, so it's like,
Exactly. Yeah.
but I almost need to be kept in a straitjacket to
Hmm.
be kept away from having the crack. I put away in a rock on the
Yeah.
Mediterranean.
Yeah. Just
Uh,
hide me. Yeah.
but speaking of that and social life and all the
Hmm.
rest, like New York is a fascinating place.
Yeah.
And you came from Dublin, but you would have worked and seen people, lots of people come over from the
Hmm.
UK. Have you any insights into like advice into like for people making that move and any lessons learned that you have?
Yeah, I think the biggest I thought about this because I had a feeling the question would be asked. I think the most important thing for me and the biggest lesson I have from this is like you just got to do it, and that's the reality. I remember getting the offer from Harrington Starr, and I remember I was on lunch break at Hayes. I was walking with my buddy Connor from work, and we were talking about it, and I was like, I don't know what to do. And he's like, Jimmy, just take the offer. Like, you know what I mean? He's like, just get over there, and that's the reality. Like everything figures itself out once you put yourself in that position. You can't be splitting hairs. You'll be doing it forever. Like there's always going to be a reason not to do something. And like I think that's something you told me as well. And like I was like I'm getting over there. Like whatever. If I leave in a year, if I leave in 6 months, I leave in 6 months. I'll get another job. I back myself. So I think it's about believing in your ability, believing in the fact that you can achieve what you want to achieve, and just taking the risk and understanding it's going to be terrifying. I've thankfully I've gotten to a good position in my life, which is fantastic, and I feel blessed every day for it. But like that's not the whole story. When I first got here, man, I was so homesick. I was like living with my aunt. I was having no social life. Everyone in my office was 5, 10 years older than me. They all had wives or girlfriends or husbands, and like I didn't know what to do with myself. And honestly, I was really like this is me. It was terrifying. But like all of a sudden you wake up, and I think that's when life really gets exciting. And I think one thing to realize when you're moving to a big city like in New York or London or anything, when you're coming from out of that city, it takes a solid year to even get your roots down properly. Because that first year is just like sensory overload.
Yeah.
So you have to expect that first year you're probably going to be a bit lonely. You're probably not going to be living the life you thought you would. It's that second year
Yeah.
where like your life explodes. You have your connections, you're
Yeah.
stable at work, you're making good money. You
Yeah.
know, you meet a romantic partner, like all that stuff starts happening in that second year, and then it's like it's just easy from there. It really, really is.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Definitely, definitely. That first year, people think I'm just going to go and make a load of money, and it's never that
Yeah.
way. It's hard.
No,
It's hard to
it's
set
very
up
hard.
your
Yeah.
life. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's fantastic. Anything else?
Yeah, no, I think I just take a moment to talk about Mason Alexander because this has been a lot centered around myself, and I think one of the reasons I joined them is primarily because like I do generally love the vision of this firm, and I love the lad that I'm working with, James Bell's our CCO, and Andrew Lynch, our CEO, and I think that like I'm very excited about what we're doing. I think that like one of the things I loved about them when I joined them was the fact that like it operates as a true advisory business, which I think is something that like is becoming more normal in recruitment, which is fantastic. But I love the fact that like we're getting away from the older model of like,
Yeah.
burn and turn and da da da. Like it's like, where do we add value with people? How do we help them? Like if we're meeting, like we meet with clients and we'll talk to them for an hour about how they can do things better and not charge them. Like it's just like being a good person in that community. And I love that approach. And yeah, I'm just very excited. I think the lads and the rest of the team back in Ireland and the soon-to-be team over here are incredibly confident. They really know what to do, and I'm just really, really excited to be here. And I think that we're going to do really great things. Yeah.
All right. Good stuff, James. Look, great catching up with you.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Delighted I'm your sports agent.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah.
and
Jerry Maguire over here. Yeah.
yeah, I must go and take my children to judo now to turn them into
Absolutely.
future UFC fighters. All right.
100%. Get it done.
See you later,
All right.
buddy.
Thanks, Walter. Take care. Best of luck. Appreciate it.